Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to explore the world of Chinese culture.
Okay.
It's a lot more than just fortune cookies and kung fu movies, let me tell you. We've got this fantastic source that really paints a picture of this culture. And I'm excited to uncover some hidden gems.
Yeah, what's so fascinating is we're going to go beyond those surface level stereotypes. We're going to really uncover the values and the philosophies and the traditions that really make Chinese culture tick.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine this. You're sitting down for a meal, and you see a plate of dumplings. Now, in many cultures, that's just a delicious appetizer, right?
Right.
But in China, it's so much more.
It is. Those dumplings, especially during Chinese New Year, aren't just food. They're a symbol of wealth and prosperity for the coming year. Their shape is said to resemble ancient Chinese money, ingots.
Wow, so there's this whole layer of meaning baked right in. I love that. That's what I love about exploring different cultures. It's like suddenly seeing the world in a completely new light.
And speaking of food, how does that tie into this idea of family, which we know is like a cornerstone of Chinese culture?
Well, think of it this way. In China, food isn't just fuel. It's a cultural experience, a way to connect with loved ones. Sharing a meal is a way to strengthen family bonds. It's not unusual to see multiple generations gathered around the table, enjoying dishes that have been passed down for generations.
Ah, that sounds so warm and inviting. Our source really emphasizes this deep respect for elders. It's almost like they're the keepers of wisdom and tradition.
Absolutely, and it's ingrained in the very fabric of their society, largely influenced by Confucianism.
Confucianism, that's a whole philosophy in itself, right? It is. And it has a profound impact on Chinese culture. You see, Confucius believed in the importance of social harmony, respect for authority, and strong family ties. And this concept of filial piety, respecting and honoring your parents and ancestors, it's woven into everything, from everyday interactions to major life decisions.
So it's not just about living together, it's about a deep sense of duty and obligation to your family, both present and past.
Precisely. And that sense of obligation goes beyond just your immediate family. There's a strong sense of community in Chinese culture, a belief that we're all interconnected.
So it's not just about individual success, it's about working together for the greater good of the community.
Right. And this leads us to another crucial concept in Chinese culture, harmony. It's this driving force that influences everything from social interactions to art and even the way they approach challenges.
Okay, so I've heard of the yin and yang symbol,
Mhm.
but I'm not sure I fully understand how it connects to this idea of harmony. Is it like finding balance between opposites?
It's exactly that. Yin and yang represent seemingly opposing forces, light and dark, male and female, action and stillness. But instead of viewing them as conflicting, Chinese philosophy sees them as complementary, interconnected. It's about finding that sweet spot where these forces coexist in equilibrium.
So it's not about eliminating conflict. It's about understanding that opposing forces are actually essential for balance.
Exactly. And this philosophy manifests in so many fascinating ways. Take traditional Chinese medicine, for example. It's not about masking symptoms, but rather about restoring balance within the body and mind using techniques like acupuncture or herbal remedies.
Wow, so even their approach to health is about achieving that sense of harmony. It's like this underlying principle that touches every aspect of their lives. But how does this concept of harmony play out in everyday life? Like, give me a real-world example.
Well, think about the way they approach communication. In Western cultures, being direct and assertive is often seen as a positive trait. But in China, there's a greater emphasis on maintaining harmony in conversations, even if it means avoiding direct confrontation.
That's interesting. It's like they prioritize preserving relationships and social harmony over potentially causing friction.
Exactly. They might use subtle cues, indirect language, and even nonverbal communication to convey their message without disrupting that sense of balance.
Ah, so it's a much more nuanced and layered way of communicating. And I bet that plays into their art forms as well, right? Like, I'm thinking of calligraphy. It's so much more than just pretty writing.
You're absolutely right. Calligraphy is deeply intertwined with this idea of harmony and balance. Each stroke of the brush is deliberate, flowing, and aims to create a sense of visual harmony on the page. It's considered a meditative practice, a way to cultivate inner peace and balance, reflecting that larger cultural value.
It's like each brushstroke is a microcosm of that bigger philosophy. So I've got family, harmony, respect for elders. It's already painting such a rich picture of Chinese culture. What about those big, vibrant celebrations? I'm thinking of Chinese New Year, the dragon dances, the fireworks. Is that another expression of this cultural harmony?
Absolutely. Festivals like Chinese New Year are all about strengthening those family bonds, celebrating their heritage, and wishing for good fortune in the year ahead. But it goes even deeper than that. Each element of the celebration, from the color red symbolizing good luck to the specific foods they eat, carries a deeper meaning and connects back to their cultural values. Take the iconic dragon dances, for example. They're not just visually spectacular, they're believed to ward off evil spirits and bring good luck to the community. It's a perfect example of how celebration and tradition intertwine with those deeper values.
Yeah, it's like this collective energy of celebration and tradition is harnessed to promote harmony and prosperity for everyone.
Uh,
That's so cool.
Exactly. And speaking of tradition, we can't forget about the Mid-Autumn Festival. It's another time when families gather, this time under the luminous glow of the full moon.
Ah, yes. And they share those delicious mooncakes, right?
Yeah,
Our source mentioned them as a symbol of unity and togetherness.
precisely. Those round pastries, often filled with sweet bean paste or lotus seed paste, echo the shape of the full moon and represent the wholeness and harmony of the family coming together.
It's beautiful how food plays such a central role in their celebrations,
Mm.
always carrying this deeper layer of cultural significance. But beyond the festivities, our source also delves into something that's deeply ingrained in Chinese culture,
Hmm.
their reverence for education.
Absolutely. In China, education isn't just about acquiring knowledge, it's seen as the pathway to success, a way to honor your family and contribute to society. It's deeply rooted in that Confucian ideal of self-improvement and striving for excellence.
It's almost like this collective belief that education can uplift not just the individual, but the entire community.
No pressure. Right.
Well, there's definitely a strong emphasis on academic achievement. Think about it. For centuries, the imperial examination system in China was the key to entering government service and achieving social mobility. That legacy still resonates today. Yeah, so it's not just about personal ambition. It's about fulfilling a sense of duty to your family and society. It makes you wonder how those cultural values might shape the educational experience for Chinese students.
Imagine this. You're a student in China, and your family has poured all their hopes and dreams into your academic success. You feel this immense pressure to excel, not just for yourself, but to make them proud.
Wow, it's a completely different perspective on education compared to many Western cultures, where individual achievement is often prioritized.
Right. And that's what makes exploring different cultures so fascinating. It challenges us to question our own assumptions and appreciate the diverse ways people approach life. Now, speaking of different approaches, let's shift gears to something that's often misunderstood in Western cultures: traditional Chinese medicine.
Okay, yeah. It's so much more than just acupuncture, right? It's a completely different way of thinking about health and healing.
Exactly. Traditional Chinese medicine is rooted in this holistic view of the body and mind as interconnected. It's about understanding the flow of energy, or qi, and restoring balance within the body to achieve overall well-being.
So it's like they're not just treating the symptoms, they're looking for the root cause of the imbalance.
That's a great way to put it. They might use herbal remedies, acupuncture, dietary changes, or even practices like Tai Chi to restore that harmony within the body. It's a fascinating contrast to Western medicine, which often focuses on targeted treatments for specific ailments.
It's a reminder that there's so many different ways to approach health and well-being. And speaking of diverse approaches, China also has this incredible linguistic landscape with so many different dialects.
It's true. While Mandarin is the official language, you'll hear a symphony of regional dialects like Cantonese, Shanghainese, and many others. Imagine traveling through China and encountering a completely different dialect every few hundred miles. It's a testament to the rich cultural diversity of this vast nation.
Yeah, that must be quite a challenge to navigate for both locals and visitors. But beyond the spoken language, our source also mentions these intriguing Chinese proverbs.
Ah, yes. Those nuggets of wisdom passed down through generations, reflecting their cultural values and worldview. They're often used in conversation to offer advice, make a point, or simply add a touch of cultural flair.
Do you have a favorite one? I'm curious to hear what kind of wisdom they offer.
One that comes to mind is, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." It speaks to this idea of patience, perseverance, and the importance of starting somewhere, even if the goal seems daunting.
Hmm. It's a beautiful reminder that even the greatest achievements are built upon small, consistent actions. And speaking of great achievements, China certainly has a lot to be proud of. from its ancient history to its modern marvels.
Absolutely. China's history is filled with inventions and innovations that have shaped the world. From the invention of paper and gunpowder to the compass and silk, they've made significant contributions to human civilization.
And of course, there's the Great Wall, a testament to their engineering prowess and a powerful symbol of their enduring strength and resilience.
Yeah, it's not just a wall. It's a symbol of national pride, drawing millions of visitors each year who come to marvel at its grandeur and imagine the centuries of history it represents.
It's amazing to think of the human effort and ingenuity that went into constructing such a massive structure. But beyond the man-made marvels,
Right.
China also has a rich natural heritage that they deeply value.
Yes. The iconic giant panda, for example, is much more than just a cute animal. It's a national treasure, a symbol of peace and friendship, and an important part of their cultural identity.
It's incredible how something from the natural world can become so deeply intertwined with a nation's cultural identity.
And it highlights the importance of conservation efforts to protect these endangered species for future generations. But beyond the pandas and the Great Wall, there's another aspect of Chinese culture that deserves attention: their clothing and fashion.
I've always been fascinated by the elegance and beauty of traditional Chinese clothing, like the Qiangsam.
The Qiangsam, also known as the Qipao, is indeed a stunning garment. It's a form-fitting dress that beautifully accentuates the female figure, often adorned with intricate embroidery and vibrant colors.
It seems like every detail in their clothing, from the colors to the patterns, carries a deeper meaning.
You're right. Colors, in particular, hold a special significance in Chinese culture. Red, as we mentioned earlier, symbolizes good luck and joy, while white is associated with mourning and is traditionally worn at funerals.
So it's not just about aesthetics, it's about expressing cultural values and beliefs through the way they dress.
Exactly. And there's been a resurgence of interest in traditional clothing, with many young people embracing the beauty and cultural significance of garments like the hanfu.
Oh, the hanfu? That's a style of clothing with flowing robes and wide sleeves, right?
Yeah.
I've seen pictures, and it looks so elegant and ethereal.
It is. The hanfu dates back centuries and reflects a deep connection to China's rich history and cultural heritage.
It's like wearing a piece of history, a tangible link to their ancestors and traditions.
And speaking of connecting with their heritage, we can't forget about the importance of tea in Chinese culture.
Oh, yes, tea. Tea is more than just a beverage in China, isn't it? It's almost like a ritual, a way of life.
You've hit the nail on the head. Tea ceremonies are a perfect example of how everyday activities are infused with cultural meaning. It's not just about drinking tea. It's about taking a moment to appreciate the aromas, flavors, and the art of preparing and sharing this beloved beverage.
Our source mentions different types of tea, like green, black, and oolong. Is there a specific type of tea that's favored in Chinese culture?
All of those teas are enjoyed, but green tea in particular holds a special place in their culture. It's been consumed for centuries and is associated with various health benefits.
It sounds like tea is deeply woven into the fabric of their daily lives. And speaking of everyday experiences, I'm curious about the concept of face in Chinese culture. Our source mentions it as a crucial aspect of social interactions.
Face is a complex concept, but it essentially boils down to one's reputation, dignity, and social standing within the community. It's about maintaining a sense of respect and avoiding actions that could cause someone to lose face or feel embarrassed.
So it's almost like this unspoken code of conduct that governs social interactions.
Exactly. It influences everything from the way they communicate to how they handle disagreements and even the way they give and receive compliments.
That sounds like a fascinating and nuanced aspect of their culture that takes time to truly understand.
It certainly does, and it highlights the importance of being mindful and respectful of others' feelings and reputations in social settings. But beyond these social nuances, we also need to consider the role of spirituality in Chinese culture.
Yeah, it's a diverse landscape, right? With influences from Buddhism, Taoism, and folk religions.
Absolutely. Many people in China practice a blend of these different belief systems, incorporating elements of Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, and folk religions into their lives.
It's like they've created this unique spiritual tapestry that reflects their diverse cultural heritage.
And it's important to remember that spirituality is a very personal aspect of life in China, just as it is anywhere else in the world.
So we've got this incredible blend of tradition, philosophy, spirituality, and even a unique approach to social interactions. It's clear that Chinese culture is a fascinating and complex tapestry, and we've only just scratched the surface.
We have, but I hope that through this exploration, you're starting to appreciate the depth and richness of this culture and the many ways it shapes the lives of people in China.
It's amazing to think about how all these elements we've discussed, family, harmony, respect for elders, education, traditional medicine, their approach to communication, it's like they all fit together like pieces of a puzzle, creating this intricate and fascinating cultural mosaic.
And that's what makes exploring different cultures so enriching, right? It broadens our perspective, it challenges our assumptions, and it helps us appreciate the incredible diversity of human experience.
Speaking of diversity, our source also touches upon the arts and how they reflect those core values of harmony and balance we've been talking about.
Think about traditional Chinese painting, for example. It's not just about capturing a realistic image. It's about evoking a mood, conveying a feeling, and creating a sense of visual harmony using brushstrokes, ink, and color.
Hmm. It's like they're painting a feeling rather than just a picture.
Exactly. And those landscape paintings often feature mountains, water, and trees, reflecting that deep connection to nature and the search for balance between humanity and the natural world.
What about those intricate paper cuttings I've seen? They're so delicate and beautiful.
Those are called jianzi, and they're a fascinating art form that's been passed down for generations. Imagine taking a single sheet of paper and meticulously cutting out intricate designs, often depicting scenes from nature, animals, or auspicious symbols.
It's like transforming a simple material into a work of art with patience, skill, and an eye for detail.
It is. And it ties into that larger cultural emphasis on precision, craftsmanship, and finding beauty in everyday objects. But beyond the visual arts, we also need to consider the role of music in Chinese culture.
Yeah. I've always loved the sound of traditional Chinese instruments, like the guzheng, a type of zither. Is there a particular philosophy behind their music?
Well, just like in their other art forms, there's a strong emphasis on harmony and balance. Traditional Chinese music often features pentatonic scales, which create a sense of serenity and flow.
It's like their music reflects that desire for inner peace and harmony we've been talking about.
Exactly. And let's not forget about the role of storytelling in Chinese culture. Their folk tales and legends are more than just entertainment. They're a way to pass down values, teach moral lessons, and preserve their cultural heritage.
I remember hearing stories about the Monkey King and the Jade Emperor as a child. Those tales really captured my imagination.
The Monkey King is a beloved character in Chinese folklore. His adventures, filled with mischief, magic, and a quest for enlightenment, have entertained and inspired generations.
It's incredible how these stories transcend time and continue to resonate with people of all ages.
They do. And they remind us that even though cultures may differ, we share these universal human experiences of love, loss, triumph, and the search for meaning. Now let's circle back to this fundamental concept of harmony. We've touched on it throughout our deep dive, but I want to connect it back to this idea of face, which we discussed earlier.
Oh, that's a great point. I remember you explaining that face is all about maintaining one's reputation and social standing.
Right. And in Chinese culture, preserving social harmony is closely tied to protecting one's own face in the face of others. It's about avoiding actions that could cause embarrassment, shame, or disrupt that sense of equilibrium in social interactions.
So it's like they're constantly navigating this intricate web of social etiquette to ensure everyone feels respected and that harmony is maintained.
Exactly. It's subtle but powerful, and it influences everything from the way they communicate to how they handle disagreements.
It makes you realize that even seemingly simple actions can have deep cultural implications. Speaking of implications, I'm curious about the role of national pride in Chinese culture.
Well, just like in any nation, people in China are proud of their heritage, history, and accomplishments. But it's important to remember that national pride can manifest in different ways.
What do you mean?
Well, in some cultures, national pride might be expressed through outward displays of patriotism, but in China, it's often more subtle and nuanced. It might be reflected in their work ethic, their dedication to family, or their commitment to preserving their cultural traditions.
So it's less about flag waving and more about living those values that they see as integral to their national identity.
Exactly. And that's what makes exploring different cultures so fascinating. It challenges us to look beyond stereotypes and appreciate the diverse ways people express their pride and identity. Now, as we approach the end of our deep dive, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned.
We've covered so much ground, from the paramount importance of family to the pursuit of harmony, the intricacies of face, their unique approach to health and medicine, the richness of their arts, and the profound influence of philosophy and spirituality. It's been an incredible journey.
It has, and I hope you've gained a deeper appreciation for the beauty, complexity, and depth of Chinese culture. It's a culture that values tradition, respect, balance, and a deep connection to their heritage.
You know, we've only scratched the surface. But I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on this fascinating culture. It makes you want to learn more, to experience it firsthand, maybe even try a cup of that oolong tea we talked about.
I agree. Exploring different cultures opens our minds, expands our understanding of the world, and ultimately makes us more well-rounded individuals.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with a question for you, dear listener. What aspect of Chinese culture resonated with you the most? Was it the strong emphasis on family, the pursuit of harmony in all aspects of life, or perhaps the intriguing concept of face and its impact on social interactions? Maybe you'll find yourself noticing those subtle cultural influences in your own life, appreciating the diversity of perspectives that exist in our world. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep an open mind.